just don't know. I don't know. I'm looking, yeah.
Marc Clarke, that's classic. I love it.
Good morning, family, and welcome to the show. Bootsy, I'm on Instagram Live, but you're just seeing me. So shout out to Instagram, guys. Go over to Reinventing Marc Clarke on YouTube. Watch the whole show. Bootsy Vegas. Today was supposed to be Truth Tuesday, but it's turned into Won't He Do It Tuesday.
Testimony Tuesday.
What is it?
Testimony Tuesday.
Testimony Tuesday. Today, for anybody, Bootsy, I'm setting it up. For anybody, including myself, for anybody who might be in the valley and you know the victory is coming, you know the blessing's coming, you might be a little emotional. You might have gone off in a situation because your emotions were tied to something. You know, a lot of times when you go off on somebody, it's not about the issue situation. It's about something that's going on in your life. A lot of times we're frustrated. A lot of times we know the abundance is coming, but you can't see it. But sometimes you have to remember what you see in front of you, it doesn't indicate what's going on in your life. A big change is coming.
Prophesize on it, Pastor Clarke.
And you never ever know. In fact, I'm going to switch it around and say you do know. So my new technique is, Bootsy, when I'm feeling like ain't nothing going on, when I'm feeling like I'm at the end of my rope, when I'm feeling like the bills have piled up and the pink notices are all in front of me, I know that something's going to happen. I know that a blessing's about to happen. So yesterday, Bootsy, you called me. Bootsy was uncomfortable. Bootsy Vegas was in a situation where he did not want to do something, but he had to do it because he loved somebody and he wanted to. One more chance. Give it one more chance. Let me just reach out and see if there's something I could do because the stakes are super high. Bootsy, you don't have to go into the specifics at all. It's just general, but my man.
Yeah. So I made a phone call to this amazing gentleman that I know named Marc Clarke, who is the wife of one Allison Ann Seymour. So, and you see him going with this Ann thing for a while too, right? But anyway, you know, people who do know I have a broadcast journalism program, but I have this student who is the SGA president of Duke Ellington Schools of Performing Arts. So for anybody who is from this area or not from this area, this is probably one of the most prestigious public schools. This young lady has a 3.8 GPA. Probably over 1,400 on her SAT, but yet she was not in school. Some people seem to think because she was a little bit opinionated when speaking up for the SGA had something to do with them not helping her get into college. So I don't know how somebody can have a 3.8 GPA, be your SGA president, but somehow your counselors and people around there ain't managed to get her in college. But I'm going to stop there because on the Marc Clarke morning show, we've had episodes where we had to erase stuff. So I don't want to be in a situation where we're going to have to erase nothing. So I'm going to stop there. I actually I was at the school about 3 weeks ago because her and another one of my students were in this play called The 12 Angry Jurors. I had a conversation with somebody. They were expressing some of her personality traits. I kind of said, hey, you know, when you lose, you know, and this student, she lost her mom, she lost her grandfather, and she lost her brother in the last 3 years. But somehow she has managed to still be the SGA president, advocate for all these situations. And for people in the DMV who watch the news, you do know what situation I'm talking about at Duke Ellington that people swept under the rug that one of her friends were directed in. So that also added on. But the other thing about this, as I give this amazing, as I get the victory thing is, and Mark, I know you know this, when people come in your life at a young age, especially with me, if you come to me at 14 and you still around me at 18, 17, 18, then I got to deal with it. It ain't no thing where I could just say, well, you know, if you in my way, if you in my mix, I got to deal with it. So I made the phone call. You know, she was supposed to go to UDC. Something happened with a partnership of my program and UDC ended up not happening. So she ended up calling me yesterday saying, you know, Mrs. This is how the conversation started. I know you did all you could do, Mr. Saleh. I know this is not you. I love you, Mr. Saleh. I know you being here with me. I want you to still come to my graduation. I'm like, oh no, Ayana, this ain't over. So, you know what I mean? I got, you know what I mean? And for people who do know my program, I got 4 phone calls that I can make. But the reason why the phone call was made to Mr. Clarke was I asked her, I said, look, out of all the schools you visited, what was the school you liked the best? She said, Mr. Saleh, I loved Hampton. Hampton made me feel like home. Hampton made me feel like a sisterhood. People that I had met had my same story. I placed a phone call to Mark. We ended up getting on, you know, exchanging information. She already applied. So this was at 8:50. She had already applied, waiting to hear back. At 10:42 last night, she gets an email saying, you now have a full ride to go to Hampton University at 10. So mind you, at 8:50, we crying like it's all right, it's all right. Don't worry about it. I'm calling you to vent a little bit, Mark, but like, look, man, can you just see, you know what I mean? Because, you know, she wanted to go to Hampton too. You got a full scholarship. So can you imagine that though? Like you know, man, I have not slept. We ended up having a deep conversation yesterday. I probably cried for like a good 3 hours yesterday. I probably cried for a good 3 hours, but I would say for me, the burden kind of is lifted off of me because talking to you, and thank God for you, Mark. I didn't know where my mind was, where this was going to go. I just didn't. But you know, my mother died when I was in high school, so I know what it is to be a parent, a child. I've lost 2 brothers, and my mom died. You know what I mean? And then the other thing is, out of all the kids that I have sent to college, what would have affected me the most was this girl not being there. So to know whatever phone call Allison and Mark Anthony Clarke made last night, I don't know what to say, but it's over. But if you could have heard this girl screaming on the phone with me last night, I'm like, and mind you, I done had a whole bunch of fillers. I beat cancer twice. So can you imagine you have a death date and then 8 months later they like, Mr. Williams, you gonna live. And you like, oh, you kind of like, oh, okay. Oh, cancer come back. Mr. Williams, you gonna live. Hey, literally, I finessed the whole DMV to win the Donnie Simpson contest and I had to act like I was not in the go-go band. Like I had to go around and people were like, you Boosie Vegas? I'm like, oh, I don't know who that guy is. And then win it. But bruh, the feeling that I had of that last night was unreal. So I have not slept. This is all your fault, Mark and Allison. I have a 4-hour studio session with Raheem Devon tonight. So I got to go home and rest my vocals because I only get to play 2 to 3 times a year. And it's Raheem's birthday. And you know the lady's going to be there. Shout out to, first of all, Oxon Hill Manor, Thursday, 7 p.m. to 12. Raheem Devon and the Crank Crusader celebrating his birthday go-go style. So I got to be right for the ladies. So I got to get right. You know what I mean? But you and Allison didn't mess me up. You know what I mean? Y'all didn't mess it up. So,
Bootsy, let me say, here's the thing. And I think it's just a reminder. I think when we talk about prayers, praying prayers, all that stuff, it's really, it's just a great reminder that it's not, we make it so complex and it's not. It's really just asking for what you want and for what you need. God, the universe, Allah, whatever you believe in, even if you don't believe in nothing, it's asking, right? It's the act. It's the act. It's putting your ego aside. It's asking. And a lot of times we have to do it with our friends and people we love. Allison, we did nothing. We did nothing.
Whatever.
It was, you know what it was, man? It was, again,
whatever.
It was God. It was God. But
whatever,
exactly,
Mark. Whatever,
exactly.
Mark.
Well,
hey.
well, here's the thing that we do know. And I think, again, when we're open, when you're open, when you're accepting, when you love, when you care, you create an environment, right? So when you ask, again, last minute, I think Allison's almost like, well, I don't know what I can do, but this is what I can do, right? That right there, that spirit, the spirit is the thing. And I think a lot of times, you know, moving in that spirit, I can't, Bootsy, I think we're similar in that, all of us, in that when you move in this spirit, everything is possible. There is no impossibilities. Yeah. And even though, and we're very optimistic. I mean, you beat cancer twice. So you can't tell Bootsy Vegas about nothing, really, as far as saying ain't, you can, you know, because you've lived and are living a life that is filled with blessings and filled with overcoming tremendous obstacles, losing your parents. I mean, so, and, you know, and again, but like you said, when you have that, when it's a child, when it's somebody else and not you, it's it becomes very emotional and very tough, because that kid, you realize that kid is fighting for their life and literally fighting for life. And one wrong move can send them in a whole new direction. So I'm very emotional because, again, look at you, Bootsy. Look at Bootsy Vegas. I mean, what a blessing to be in the presence of somebody.
Look at Marc Clarke and Anderson Seymour. Look at Marc Clarke.
No. But Bootsy, the difference is.
You know why though? Now, this is the real testament. Is that I felt comfortable to call y'all at last minute like that. That's another, like, be clear. I didn't have no reservations for waking y'all up, doing y'all a dinner hour, you know what I mean? Knowing Alice got to be up at whatever time. Like, I called y'all, you know what I mean? So it's like, y'all made me feel comfortable to know that if it was something that could be done, we could all work collaboratively to do it. You know what I mean? So, you know, you could always do like everybody, some of my kids in my program do, put me on mute. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, you had me on mute for a while as well. So, you know, let's
Man, again, I'm just so excited, and I'm just so happy for this young lady. And oh man, I tell you, it's just reminders, man. And I'm in the spirit of that. I was dealing with a DC institution. I'll just put it that way. And the DC institution, if you let it, will break you. and after the third or fourth time of me going into a building and having a conversation, yesterday was the first time I got with somebody who actually put together the proper information so the ball could start rolling. But the blessing was I was in a space, because, you know, after you have a first couple times, you're in a space, you get in that space. And that space, nothing comes from that space. Nothing comes from being disappointed, angry, frustrated, mad. Nothing comes from that space. But when you're in an opening, I went the fourth time I went after waiting hours, and my expectations, I didn't have any expectations. I was already in the mode of, I'm here, right? And I got, not only did, while I was at this place, get a call about an opportunity, and got the ball rolling in this other thing. You know, I left there in a space. And then when you call me, Bootsy, it just added on to just the reminder, just when you think you're at your wit's end, just when you think, because I know somebody's watching this, and you've either been there before or you're there when it comes to, especially your loved ones, family, friends, work. You're at your wit's end, you feel like it. But when you're right there, know that a blessing's coming. Because I think a lot of times people do the opposite. It begins their downward spiral into negativity, pity. You know, you kind of get into that. And Bootsy, you fought off cancer, and I know that's a crucial part. And you said, though, even at with a death date, can you imagine that? A young man and a death date with a baby, man. Yeah. Bootsy, while we're on this, bruh, because I know.
Hey, I'm not gonna let you walk me down. Hey, I ain't gonna let you walk me out of that today. These jokes about to hit, baby. So we ain't gonna be on the same page. We're not doing this for an hour, bro. Hey, you should have got it all out last night. But go ahead.
I'm just saying, Bootsy, just give us a nugget, because you faced everybody's worst fear. Everybody's worst fear.
I'll tell
you had a death date twice. Right. So what's the one thing, and we'll move on, because I'm obviously Mr. Cry today. What's the one thing you learned in that?
The one thing is this, and to everybody listening, please remember this. Your mind is more powerful than you give it credit for. You do become your thoughts. There are two types of people in this world. There's a person that think that he can, there's a person that think that he can't, and both of them are right. You just need to decide who you gonna be. Straight up. I never allowed what they told me as my reality. So I said, well, if that is what it is, I'll be fighting it. So positive thoughts, positive reinforcement, positive people around you, also positive music. I ain't gonna lie. One time when they had first gave me the diagnosis and I was doing treatment for the first 2 weeks, I listened to straight Tupac for 2 weeks, straight up. Like I'm not, and people were like, Tupac? No, like I'm not going out like this. So just know that what you allow to seep in, what you allow to take in, and your mind is more powerful than you give it credit for. You know what I mean? You do your thoughts. The last thing I want to say, and please hear me on this one. Sometimes you got to know who to call when you're in one of these situations to talk you off the ledge or just give you some real insight and dialogue in some perspective. You can't be calling the negative person. And I would really say if the person is funny and can give you some introspective, you should call him, because laughter and humor can get you out of a whole lot of situations. And my last thing is this. What I've learned about life is, and I'm not as esteemed as Mr. Clarke here, it's never as bad as they tell you it is, and it's never as great as they sell you on. It's really about an even kill. No matter what I do, no matter what happens, whether it's high or low, I did not get too low with my cancer diagnosis and whatever it is. And when I had those moments, them great moments of pulling some stuff off, I didn't get too high with it. You know what I mean? I just kind of stayed in the middle, remember what I was trying to accomplish in the first place, and I just like that. See, the whole thing about my program and with me in this whole situation is, despite what everybody thought about this program since I created it, and everybody, and let me say this, and I don't think it's a bad thing. Everybody have a different interpretation on what they think you should be teaching kids when it comes to journalism. You may look at it one way, Mark. I may look at it, a different way. But the reason why I've been successful is the mission was always to get them to college.
Come on now.
I ain't kidding. They still to this day, 6 years later, keep telling me where I should go, what I should teach them. That's fine. Whatever I'm going to do, I got a route for them to start from here to go over there. And I don't care about nothing else. So when you be telling me why you doing this, why I kind of like, and mind you, I'm being humble because I can say, hey, bro, I got a degree in it. And I've been on 3 morning shows. You know what I mean? Oh, and I traveled for the greatest band in the history of the world. Only 2 people got mentored by them. You know what I mean? Only 1 person can still go back to Malibu Beach. I could leave tomorrow if I wanted to. But the agenda has always been the same, is that my mission was to get as many kids with the second chance that God gave me.
Come on.
What the second chance he gave me was to get as many kids out. And out of all the feelings that I've had in my life, and I've had a lot of them, good and bad. Boy, I went on tour, like it's a bunch of stories. But there is no feeling replacing going to a cookout that I'm going to go again. I'm about to go to 7 cookouts this year. 5 of them are the first time ever going to college. And they're having a cookout celebrating that their baby or their child is going to college. That they started here, but they're going there. And they did not let their zip code, their circumstances, or their situation dictate where their future was going. Now, I could say something else, but I'm gonna go ahead and stop. But let me just give this one little warning. I've been telling people this, Mr. Clarke, and I'm gonna go ahead and say this one line because I don't know who's watching. Y'all should leave Sally, E, and Boosie alone because I am protected and I have a different type of favor that the average person don't have. I don't even have to even do it. Please just pick the battles wisely because obviously you can see God is doing something with me. You can see God is doing something with the passion, you know what I mean? And just be clear. God is using me for something else. Don't get in the way. Do not get in the way of something that is already divine to me. Because we can all talk about all the stuff that we got, right? But guess what though, Mark? We can't take none of it with us. but we can leave it here for others.
Mm.
People need to start asking themselves, what are you going to be leaving here for others? If they fire me tomorrow, what is a legitimate action option? You know what I mean? I can say, you know what? 31 went out and I'll be good and I'll figure it out. So just know your mind is more powerful. Find your purpose, find your destination, and be destined to get to it. My destination was created the next wave of black journalists from Washington, D.C. And 31 kids later, I'm still that nigga. Bootsy fucking Vegas, nigga.
Come on now.
Play with your mama. Don't play with me. It's easy. And I ain't used none of my resources yet. I still ain't used none of my resources yet. And I fall back on that one. I'm sorry.
Yes. And with that, Mr. Vegas, what else can we say? Shout out to Instagram, who's been riding with us this morning. What's up, Instagram? Hello, everybody that said hi. I didn't get a chance to say hi. Bootsy, I don't think we could. That's it. I think that's going to be it today, buddy.
Okay, hold on. I think there is one subject that I would love your opinion on. You know, the journalist in me wants to ask you a few questions. I would love to know, as a person who is a political intellect like me, I would love to know your thoughts on the Roe versus Wade possibility of them overturning that. I would love to know your thoughts about that. And what do you think that's going to help politically? Because in my opinion, they may just gave the Democrats back the election. I would love to know your thoughts in the perspective of this new breaking report of Roe versus Wade being overturned.
Well, I think. Well, it's funny. I'm in a couple places here, Bootsy, and I think this is where I realize sometimes with my kids and my family, they think I'm a crazy person or they misunderstand what I'm. So, I'll say that this is. I think again, the Republicans always are better at politics than the Democrats. I don't know. I guess because they're ruthless. Because I don't know. At the end of the day, they got their shit together, and Democrats
they have a plan.
And I'm a Democrat. It's just very frustrating to have no balls, to have no heart, to have no drive. You can't get us to the polls except in the presidential election. You can't get us on the message. You can't even get, so
what is the issue? What, in your opinion, what is the issue of the low turnout for Democrats?
I think at the end of the day, the average person does not involve themselves with politics, because if we really got involved, people always say voting doesn't matter. Well, it only doesn't matter because people don't really participate. Right. These people, we got it twisted. These elected officials work for us. We don't work for them. We treat them like superstars. They act like superstars. And when they do stuff that don't align with what we want, we should drag their ass out of office. You get one shot. When you mess up, and any elected official, get their ass out of there. But we don't. And so all these things become, all these political footballs, right? So you talk about, abortion, right? Roe versus Wade. So women's rights, right? So, again, Democrats, the leadership, it's all BS. I think women should demand their rights in a real way, though. Don't let the Roe versus Wade political football happen. I mean, in a real way, that's deeper than just Roe versus Wade, because that's the whole BS vague political thing. All these things they throw around from, they use race, they use Roe versus Wade, they were minimum wage. All this stuff is BS, political BS. And I think if we actually participated like we're supposed to and made specific demands that made real differences and called them on their bullshit, then it would make a difference. But because we don't, it's just a vague thing. And the Republicans are playing for keeps, and they're getting ready to. So it's going to go to the states, and so obviously the liberal states will have
one set of rules, one set of laws.
Yeah, and then and so that's what we're moving towards. And it's ridiculous, and so, but we saw it happen. We did not when Trump was in office and he was putting all these judges in place. He was doing it for a reason, because he knew the Supreme Court was going to be conservative and they'd get Roe versus Wade. And then the state, when it's put in the state's hands with all these stupid ass judges he appointed, he's gonna be pushed through.
Mhm.
And we just stood by as Democrats do and watched all of it happen. We weren't out there fighting. We weren't out there yelling, screaming. Where is the outrage anytime? Where's the outrage for anything? The outrage for, education. No, we don't have any outrage,
Right.
And so
Right.
it's that's my, so that's my, I'm just
So do you think so in your opinion, do you think this will help the Democrats in the midterm election? Because a lot of people feel like this will kind of like spark interest in reaffirming the importance of voting in midterm elections. Do you think it's any pluses that could happen for the Democrats in this situation?
If this is what you needed to get your ass to the polls, well, damn it,
You got it.
you know what I mean? If you need a cause when all this is going on, like you said, Boots, you deal with young people. You deal with young people who are faced with, who don't have, a lot of times. So, as an educator, there are kids who don't have access to quality Wi-Fi and don't have access to computers. And if you have multiple kids in your house, anytime there's distance learning, that's a major problem. But where are the people in the streets demanding things? That's real. That's real. Anytime you say distance learning to poor folks, you're looking at people who don't have access already in a situation to schools that aren't up to par. But now you're at home stuck with a weak ass Wi-Fi signal and maybe one or two computers, maybe, but nobody's saying nothing about that. That's a real everyday issue, so, and so we got all these, from, there's so many of those real issues. And then not to say abortion is not a real issue, but I'm just saying, but so, yeah, it's just, I'm just tired of the BS from everybody. I'm tired of the politics. It's all politics, if you're not doing your job, get them out of there. We have these people who are running who need to, and the people, if you've been in there for 10, 5, 10, 15 years, you ain't done nothing, get them out of there. Get somebody new in there. Get some new blood. Get some new blood in there. It basically, as it is, it's like it's an old boy network, whereas once you're in, it's hard to get out, hard to get voted out, the incumbents just kind of roll in. No.
Right. It's interesting because and let me say this, and I know it's going to sound bad. I am surprised at the passion people still are having, but I'm also surprised that we're actually still having a discussion on whether you should have the right to tell somebody what they should do with their body. Like, I don't know why I am flabbergasted that we're still having this discussion.
Right, it's 2022. It's
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. But it's interesting, and I think the one lesson that we all should learn, everybody should learn, is this is why all elections are important. Because when you go to sleep at the wheel, even with this Trump thing, people thought it was a joke. People was laughing at him. They was not taking it serious. And then when you don't take it serious and somebody gets in there, all this stuff could happen. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, please understand why it is important, because basic rights is on the table today, which is just very interesting.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's not a shock. I mean, we saw it coming, I guess, as it's here. And that's the other thing, Bootsy. You're like, like you say, it's the same old political, you know what I mean? Is it a game? Is it a game? I mean, you know what's going to happen. So then when it comes, then people get fired up and then they go out. And it's interesting, it's almost like, it feels like a distracting game too. You get fired up on one issue and you get and then after it dies down, you go back to your normal, I'm not plugged in, I'm not paying attention. It's almost like, again, we talked, well, you don't have to say anything, but so, when I look at the governor's race and I look at a Wes Moore, someone that I know, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like if you were watching a basketball game and there's a person that got, they no answers for the person, they got all the, competing with people who can't even jump off a floor. And it's just like, it's pretty clear cut, like what we need for future leadership. But because of the political system, people weigh that. They're like, it's almost like, so-and-so, yeah, I know this person has the character, has the intellect, has the desire, has the drive, has all this stuff that I want. But I have to ask the question, can a person like that do anything in a failed system without allegiance.
Well,
so
let me.
So the question becomes, why do we put up with that? If the system is, if we know it's a failed system with people who have great intentions, can't get anything done, let's get them cats out of there. But we don't look at it that way. We just go, oh, like you said, oh, there's nothing I can do, and so we don't do anything. I used to be that person. I used to be the person that was like, ho hum, nothing I can do. I didn't even vote half the time. I was that guy. Me and Troy used to argue about this when I was at the Big Fat Morning Show. I'd be like, man, the system's corrupt. What can I do? So I understand how people get there.
Right.
Because it is.
Yeah. But it's over and over again. Yeah. But let me tell you
again, like you, if people say, oh, these programs don't work, but then you look at a Bootsy Vegas, what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? You aren't like the other programs. Right. You're not motivated. You're not there for a check. You're not there to get on somebody's nuts. You're there because you faced death and you said, before I leave this earth, I'm going to do something. I'm going to leave my mark in a way that's helping others. So you ain't scared when BS from the top comes down. You ain't scared when parents ain't getting on board. You ain't scared when people criticize you and say, I think a Marc Clarke type would be better. You ain't scared because you are on a mission. And that's what we need for people who are running for office and to be our leadership to represent us in office. We don't need people there for a check. If your ass makes more as an elected official than you made in your job, I don't need you in there. I need somebody who's not there for a good check. I need somebody who's there for other reasons. So that's one of my things. Now, if you broke, I don't need you. If you broke and you made a difference in your community, then here's the part, Bootsy, and you know this. When you go to events in the community and you're doing an event, the people who make a big difference, you ain't got to announce them. Everybody knows them.
That's a fact.
They're like, that guy right there, Bootsy Vegas, put my son through college.
That's a fact.
If you ain't that person, if I'm in an event and I'm on, make sure you say hi. Why? Why do I need to announce this person if he represents us? Because if I need to announce them, they're not doing a good job. And in fact, the community doesn't even know who the hell they are. So we don't need to announce them. We need to get them out of there and get people who are making a difference. That's one thing about love them or hate them, mayor for life. Every time somebody says his name, what's tied to it is summer youth program, or he's my first job, or he made me a millionaire, or I got a contract. That's what you get. People from out of town say, oh, he's a crackhead, da-da-da. People here will say, even if people don't like him, I got my first job, da-da-da. And that's what you want,
Yeah. Now, I think you made an interesting point, and I do think from a media perspective, me and you can have this discussion, and I think this would need to be talked about. And I even think this with Wes Moore. See, Trump showed us something in the election is the fact that elections is something like a production. Yeah. That even with Obama, with the Yes We Can, I think people need to get creative on how they package their messages, how they disseminate their information through social media, realms. I don't know if people really give President Obama the credit for his ground game through social media and emails and all that before everybody was doing it.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think with Democrats, they got to do a better job on their messaging. They have to do a better job on their presentation on what it is they're doing. They have to do a better job of showing in a media type of package, a commercial, Instagram post, or something, what your issue is, directly how I'm trying to fix it, and where you can be at it in the next 2 years. And I think Republicans do a way better job of just packaging and selling whatever it is that they're trying to sell.
I'm gonna tell you what they said.
Go ahead.
Because they're packaging and selling hate and fear, and that's why.
Yeah, fear, but they know their audience though.
So, and so the problem is it's hard to. It's like when you look at media, right? Mm-hmm. Conservative, you ain't ever going to beat a conservative talk show with liberal, fair, loving, positive. It just doesn't. Sadly, people are driven. I remember when somebody said this the other day, Bootsy. it was a great reminder. They said the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. And I thought about it, Boosie, because you know how when you look at the news and you look at different things and there's so much fear mongering or like making people scared. And even like with Donald Trump, then it hit me, Boosie. Yeah, that's it. Because, you know, people were like, well, why would we da 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 da? Well, because fear makes people who are insecure and threatened and all those other things, it makes them react, you know. And so, yes, it's easy to package that it's easier to package that. And that's why you're going to get a million stories on death, destruction, and whatever, and not one story on a media center in the 7th and 8th Ward that's sending kids to college. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get in your neighborhood, you're going to get everybody that got shot, everybody that got jacked, every dog that got stolen. But you're not going to get a story on somebody is feeding people or sending them to college, da da da. Why? And that's why the Republicans win, because they've used that technique for quite some time. But you're right, Bootsy. It takes somebody to say, okay, well, we need to counter that. I need to counter that, right? And the funny part is you can even counter it with love. It's almost like we talk about political football, we talk about abortion, right? The thing that's interesting about abortion, back to like you say, we look at how it's packaged. Republicans, they make the people who have an abortion, they try to make them, you know, they promote like you're a sinner, you're bad, you're a baby killer, blah, 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 right? When from a human standpoint, what if you put all that money into creating adoption centers and said the message was, if you're going to have a child and you feel like you can't take care of them, give them to us. Give them to us. Give them to us. That's a love message. That's somebody's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do with this baby. You know, okay, give them to us. So why don't they use that technique? You know what I mean? That seems to be a more humane, positive technique than calling somebody a baby killer. But they don't do that because it's much more powerful. And again, it's very divisive, and it's the opposite of love.
You said, wow. Well, and let me tell you something. That is an amazing assessment. That is a journalistic course right there that you just laid out, Professor Clarke. Wow, interesting. It really is. I mean, wow. Well, you know, I'm
on one hand, claiming you the religious group, you know, the religious party, but on the other hand, using hate and fear to drive your messaging.
And the other thing that's so interesting to me is that, you know, Republicans always preach less government. I want my right to choose. I don't want the government telling me what to do. Don't tell me what to do. I mean, I don't want to take the vax. If I don't want to take it, I should have to take it. And now you're telling somebody what to do with their body. Exactly. Like it's so interesting. But I will say that I just think Democrats and certain fractions of the Democrats have to do a better job of their marketing and packaging of their messaging, because and just understand that you got to really break it down. And I hate to say it, but in layman terms, you probably have to really simplify your message as much as possible, because sometimes they talk. It's a little bit, some of the talk and the intellect does not always hit. Like, just tell me what it is. So
yeah, no, I agree. And hey, look at again, the system. The system is the system. That's the other thing too. I think both parties, you have to ask yourself, what is the goal?
Right.
What's the ultimate goal? Like,
what's the purpose?
Is this all some BS?
Well, what do you think the goal is for them then in this whole overturning Roe versus Wade? I would love to need your perspective.
Oh, no. Well, no, they definitely, it's the Trump, what Trump exposed. Here's the thing. Donald Trump, as somebody who's been paying off politicians forever, understood that these elected officials will sell their baby down the aisle for $10,000. That's why right now he's the most powerful person in the Republican Party, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's all BS. He knows that. Democrats and Republicans. These elected officials are, you know, they're it's a game.
It's a game.
And so, you know, so yeah, I think until people really start making some real demands, we're all. It's funny. We're all victims of the machine. I was thinking about Bootsy. I was thinking about religion the other day, and I was saying, look at all the systems, right? All the systems. When people are criticizing somebody else's religion, they'll go to the origin. But when you study religions, all of them had weird origins. You know what I mean? Most of them all broke off from something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We were all doing this, and then so and so did this, and then we were doing this, and then you know what I mean. So it's funny. The reason why they don't teach history for real, is because most histories, when you know the whole history, you can't really point your finger over here, because then you would know the whole history, and people would say, well, and that was the thing. I'll say this, and this is we have a racist show too, Bootsy. Thanks. This is the thing I thought was funny. The human element of people. Years ago, Cornel West was speaking in St. Louis. And, everybody, and it was right after some racially charged situation in St. Louis. So all the black folks, it was at
AME Church?
It was at WashU. I think it was at it was a predominantly white college. So it was funny because it was like predominantly black folks there. So people were there like, yeah, Cornel West about to break it down, right?
Southern Illinois University, SIU?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it was either St. Louis U or it might have been WashU. But we all came expecting him to fire and brimstone, Cornel but he didn't. He hit it with the, my brother, you must realize, brother. See, when you know world history, what's going now is this ain't nothing but what happened in Russia during the so-and-so period and da-da-da-da-da period. You know what I mean? So he hit it. He he's a religious expert. He's a religious historian, right? And so he hit us with that. So everybody's out like, oh, okay, okay, oh well, Bootsy, everybody wanted the fire and brimstone, but instead we got an education lesson, right? Mm. So it was like, okay, Cornel West, intellectual, put everything in perspective. What we're seeing, there's nothing new under the sun. This is nothing, but we've seen this before. Oh, it's Cornel West, right? So why, when Obama was president, Cornel West and
Tavis
Smiley, they were coming for him coming hard for them, right?
And they would not stop with it, really
unrelenting. And these are historic, but why? Well, because Obama had a relationship with I can't think of his name, Larry, whatever. He had this guy that Obama had appointed. Cornell had beef with him based on his relationship with him when he was at Harvard. So it was personal. You know what I mean? It was a personal. So he put all that religion, all that history, all that intellect to the side to expose the black president, right? So it's like, and that's the funny part about all of it. So that's what I'm saying. All in the system, even the people who do know, because it's almost like his criticism of Obama, especially Cornel West, Mr. Historian, when you're the president of the United States, there's only so much you can really do, right? You're the president of this machine that's there for a reason. Obama being, mixed, he understood that. We were always like, why ain't he going harder in the paint? Because he knows white people. He knows they're his grandparents.
Right. They raised him.
He knows this is his mom. And so he knew that if I say this, then this is going to be he understood the game. Mm-hmm. And he did what he could do in his mind. And we would have done it differently. But the reality is, as we all know, Bootsy, he wouldn't have been president either. He wouldn't have been president. He reached across the aisle all the time, and they cast him as somebody who never reached across the aisle and did it his own way. It was driving us crazy. But because it's this machine is what it is. It is what it is, And so I just hope that we start making more demands. And, and again, it's almost like the trick. So now, You know, like you say, people get fired up. So that's what it takes. Democrats always got to be fired up. Republicans on 10 all the time.
Right. That's a great assessment.
Republicans are ready to be racist and sexist at any given time.
Whenever need be. It don't matter. It's a switch I can turn on. Yes.
Babies, old people, anybody can get it.
Critical race theory, whatever it is. Black History Month, Black Lives Matter, we ready.
Republicans are like, what's the boxer, Bronner? Anybody can get
it. The can man.
Anybody can get it. American.
Anybody, man. Africans, Mexicans.
Yeah. So Bootsy Vegas, once again, we started off in love and ended in losing our jobs, but still, it was a great show.
That's what we do here. And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be here all week.
And again, on one hand, we praise God. On the other hand, Bootsy basically went off. And that's what we do. It's that way, like Bootsy said, that's what we do. We're a perfect team. That's what we do.
Man, it's crazy. Yeah. The extremes we go to literally in the last 12, 14 hours where we have been, me and you. Wow.
But what a celebration, though. And again, anybody out there who is going through, just know, you know it's coming.
Yep.
Because then the other thing is, for those who you know, and Bootsy, well, you face it for real. What's the other alternative? You know, as Richard Pryor said when Jim Brown came up after he had burned himself up. What you gonna do now, Rich? I love that because that's how life is. What you gonna, like you said, Bootsy, they just came in and told you, Mr. Bootsy, Mr. Vegas, you have a death date. You're like, thank you, got you. Got it. I mean, you know, what you gonna do? Okay, got you. That's what you say. Okay.
And now we here. Talking smack. And you know what I mean? And I get to be on the morning show with the amazing, illustrious Marc Clarke. Trust me, the other side is always better. Paul, what up, baby? OG, I love you.
Bootsy said Bootsy don't like me.
OG, I love you. First of all, the captain, Paul Porter.
I know, but you can hear with his voice, Bootsy don't like me. I'd be like, what?
Paul, I love you, sir. Paul, my son plays on a traveling tournament baseball team. And the worst thing about a tournament baseball team is if your team wins, you stay. If they lose, they go home. My son, always on the hottest days, find a way to win. So I don't got no, trust me, I don't got no free days. Lord have mercy.
All right, family. That's going to be it. Man, you got me fired up, Bootsy. You got me, get a nap, man. Can you bust a nap?
Hey, I better, because I got a 1 o'clock meeting and I have a 4-hour studio session that I am leading with Raheem Devon today. So
you said the event's on Thursday?
Yes, it is.
I need to come out, man. I didn't mean to do that, but I need to come out. Do we need to get Raheem on this week?
We might as well, but you know, he's in the studio all night. So, you know what I mean? I don't know if you follow him. He sleeps in the morning, studio all night. I love you, Paul Porter, the captain.
All right, y'all. Love everybody. Thank you for hanging there with us, with or without jobs. We love you. And we'll see you tomorrow. We're talking business.
My eyes just don't know. I don't know. I'm looking.